Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Chat with Chamindra. And today I have another very special guest with me in Artha Salgado. He's one, myself and Artha, we go long time back. We know each other from little kids. We've gone to the same school. We've been in the same class, and our bond as batchmates, as literally calling brothers to each other. We've been talking and be discussing things from way back, over 20 years back. So we go a long way. And today I have Artha. I'm really privileged to have Artha in my show. It's been coming. We've been having discussions for a few months now, and finally we got a chance to set this up. And we are going to talk about a nice topic as well. And before we go to the topic, it's basically related to sustainability. Why we choose that topic is because Artha, I feel, is somewhat is a leader in Sri Lanka related to that topic, because he's been um, talking and working on this topic for a long time now. He's been working in many blue chip companies in Sri Lanka, and now he has his own company called. What is that again, Arthur? If you can give just a name on that one,
Yeah,
your
we
start.
it's called seedling.
Seedling. Seedling. So he's been doing a lot of talking, discussions, and work related to behind the scene work related to sustainability, and doing a lot of service to our country, Sri Lanka, as well as overseas as well. So before we proceed further, Arthur, why don't you give a more detailed introduction about yourself for the audience?
I think you did a pretty good job, but I don't think I need to. I think you covered all bases. But I mean, just to touch upon a little bit on and build on what you told me is, I think what we are doing now when it comes to sustainability. I mean, my background was primarily by qualification. I'm an engineer, but got into health and safety very early on in my career, and was privileged to work under a lot of great leaders who worked with a lot of purpose and with passion towards that area. And then, of course, as the my role and the market evolved as well, I got more and more into sustainability. And as you said, I've been doing that for quite a while. I was heading environmental sustainability financial globally officially since about 2020, but we actually started doing that role probably around 2016 also. And it's been a global role, so I've been getting my hands dirty literally in multiple jurisdictions, and it's been a rewarding career for me in that area. And it's continuously evolving as well. That's the best part of it. It's There's never a dull day. So yeah, and hoping that I can support some more initiatives and support Sri Lanka as well whenever possible. I'm obviously based in Sydney now, but I do come back quite a bit and try to see if we can support some of the Sri Lankan enterprises and small medium enterprises as well to make sustainability a competitive edge in this challenging market.
Superb. That's a great, and I think you're doing a wonderful thing. Now, just to start off our conversation, I mean, sustainability. We have all, it's a buzzword and everybody talks about it. And many is associating that to recycling and, reusable bags and those kind of areas. That's what the buzzwords, with everyone. In your view, what is sustainability? And what can you give a good, some what your point of view of that, and how do you see it?
I think that's a great starting point. It's very important as well, but sustainability now I think has gone far beyond recycling bins and reusable bags and things like that. And I think that I look at it now more as a strategic imperative from corporate perspective. And I would define it as probably the ability to design and operate systems, whether it's in businesses or government or in everyday life, and hope in ways that will create long-term value without compromising the health of our planet or future generations. And again, this goes beyond the environmental aspect. We're talking about social equity and social justice. We're talking about a lot of other areas as well. So we're looking literally at the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profits. And it's not just about reducing the environmental harm as well. It's about transforming how we produce, how we consume, govern, and innovate. Be it whether we are talking about energy or water or materials or even labor. It's about embedding sustainability into decision making at every level of the in an organization or at a national policy level, and shifting and looking at integrating sustainability and sustainable thinking into corporate strategy or product design. And the real power that I see lies in systems thinking and shifting from an extractive model to what is more of a regenerative model.
Great, that's great, because now some people believe that sustainability is just going green, like green.
Literally,
That's all.
literally,
Yeah,
literally.
but there's more to it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's quite interesting because you brought up the whole green concept, and
Yeah,
that's a whole another conversation altogether. But there's also, I mean, what those days it used to be only greenwashing was the bad. Now there's green hushing and green. I mean, there are so many variations of that as well.
correct. True, 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 true. That's the thing. And again, now what you said, there are so many other perspectives that has come on, right? Like biocurrency and lot of things, right? So it's just it has been evolving and it has grown to a different level. So you must have seen some myths about people believing in certain myths and all, right, related to sustainability, right? You talked about a few. Any other myths that you want people to, just have not to think sustainability is what, and and see more to it. Any myths that you want to break and tell them what the real deal is.
I would say there's a lot of myths out there. I mean, everything from the cost of sustainability to recycling can save the planet kind of situation. But I would think that one of the main things that a lot of people believe is that individuals alone can essentially save the planet, because obviously while personal action is important and often very empowering to people, the myth that I think is that sustainability rests solely on consumer choices, and it doesn't look at the structural drivers of climate change, biodiversity loss, and inequality. The reality, I think, is that the biggest impact comes from decisions that are made in boardrooms at a corporate level, policymakers, the decisions that they make, investment strategies that are there. Individuals can, of course, push for change, but meaningful progress comes when institutions, whether businesses or governments, change the rules, reallocate their capital, and redesign systems to make sustainable choices the default and not the exception. Right now, I mean, there are policy decisions that have been made. If you look at Sri Lanka as an example, we've talked about the energy sector. There's been a lot of stuff on the energy sector in Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
Those, I mean, individuals, you and I can't make any a change on that. It has to be done at a policy level. Simple things like banning polythene and plastic, the shopping bags and things like that. Those are policy level decisions. You and I can take a bag, a reusable bag, and take it to the shops and use it, and so on and so forth. But if at a policy level the decision is said, stop doing this,
yeah.
stop giving polythene bags, and I think now there has been progress in that, then you just eliminate that thing. So you make the sustainable choice the default pathway for people. So I think there's a lot that can be done at a systems level, at a national policy level. So individuals can do the right thing. They can move the needle forward, but significant change actually will happen at very higher levels.
That's super. That's the thing. Again, those policies are, because in if you don't, the decisions don't come from the top, the people, citizens will not obey it, right? It's
I,
uh,
I, I
what
remember
you call.
there was a some years back when when this whole segregating of the household waste
Yeah,
started. People were saying, okay, we put this into the right bin, we separate the plastics, we separate the organic material, and so on and so forth. And then they were saying the UC guy comes and picks it up and puts it all into the same.
everything in the same.
Then what? So as individuals, we are doing what we should be doing,
Yeah,
but the infrastructure and the back end is not designed to support it. So then people get frustrated. People think it's a waste of effort, and we just actually take step back. We step backwards instead of forwards.
do you think people are very shy to talk about this topic? I know people have other problems like their personal family problems and everything, but they don't want to talk about this topic a lot. Do you see why the reason behind that?
I do think that people talk
They
about it
know
quite
about it, but they don't want to take action, isn't it?
well. It's always, no one wants to do anything bad. I mean, if you could, if it is, if it is facilitated better, I would say, then the conversation would be easy. And the conversation, as I said, like this, the sustainability role in itself is continuously evolving as well. right? One thing that's good today might not be good tomorrow, or there's more new information that comes out. So it's always continuously evolving. So it can be a little bit, I want to say, overwhelming, and can be technical. So that's why there has to be like almost a marriage of sorts between what individuals can do and what can be done at a national policy level. Because if those policies actually facilitate people to live a more sustainable lifestyle, then that choice would be easier, right? Now, and I'm because I've been living in two parts of the world, it kind of helps understand the very simple thing: being able to take public transport versus having to drive a vehicle to go to work. That's something sustainable. But why do in Sri Lanka? Why do we not use public transport? One, I mean, the buses and the safety
Yeah.
concerns of the road is a whole other
Correct,
conversation.
correct. Different conversation.
But also the fact that it is restricted, there is comfort issues and all of that. The infrastructure doesn't facilitate people to make that sustainable choice. And that's where, I mean, people started riding bicycles, but then riding a bicycle on the road in the morning to go to work. And I know people who do it, which is fantastic, but not everybody can actually do it, because you need to be able to have the office or facility needs to have showers, be able to have wash and do all of that. So all of this needs to kind of sit in. So while individuals themselves, as I said, will be looking at it, trying to be more sustainable, the system, the lack of infrastructure, the lack of back end support, essentially to support those choices, doesn't exist or is inadequate. So then people are like, we have, as you said, we have bigger problems to deal with,
Yeah, big problems.
and they chose to do that. I mean, you need to eliminate barriers, I think, is what we need to look at to facilitate this. Yeah.
I think that boom is coming. I think not just the government, the people are trying to use it, and even the organizations. Now
Yes.
sudden increase of recent increase of using of electric EV vehicles, right? It has got a boom in Sri Lanka now. I mean, everywhere you go, you see a vehicle, right? Electric vehicle, right? So somewhat way forward, but I think even though the vehicles come, the infrastructure should be there, right? If you don't have charging stations, those vehicles are no use, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's, I'm going back to many years back, right? Many years ago, when EVs were becoming. I remember there was, I think, at a motor show or something. I remember the then president, Sirisena, I think, drove one of the Tesla Model S, I think, and there was a big push towards EVs as well. But then somebody, obviously very smart, said that the increased adoption of EVs will put too much of a strain on the national grid. So we need to stop that. And then we started taxing. We started taxing EVs to reduce the number. I mean, is that the solution that we should have expected? Not really. But yeah, so policy level decisions are kind of make things interesting.
I just don't want to go be political in this side, but I just
I mean,
want
you
to know.
can't,
Yeah,
not
because
go into
my
politics in
concern
this.
is, are we taking, putting steps without making the, homework done? That's my concern there.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. That's why I said, like, you can talk about, I mean, simple, like the waste part of it, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
we talked about waste as an example.
yeah.
If you don't set the back end infrastructure, then whatever is happening at the household level is not going to make a huge impact. I mean, you can't, in this day and age, at least even in Sri Lanka, you can't really talk about sustainable living without looking at it from a political lens and a political angle as well, because these are the policymakers, right? And if they have short term thinking, if they are looking at it only for the next election cycle, essentially, then what are we talking about sustainability, right? If the policy decision, I mean, we are talking about climate change, we are talking about net zero targets, which are to be made by 2050 and all of this stuff, right? You can't make policy decisions which are like 4 or 5 years out into the future and plan
Yeah,
to reduce an impact 20, 30 years down the line. And I think that's a bit of a sensitive area, but that is what the truth is. We lack having a national level policy. I mean, we've made commitments to the nationally determined contributions for the SDGs, right? The Sustainable Development.
that's
Some
the
of the
thing.
policy decisions that are being made don't really seem to be working towards delivering on those goals and commitments. So
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. It's I mean, even what I've seen, just because companies, a lot of blue chip companies in Sri Lanka have their own sustainable policy, and they have those details written down. But it's the action that you need to take, right? And if you're not taking that action and just without just promoting, help them with the background work as well to help the people and the employees and everyone they are contributing.
You have to facilitate. I mean, you don't want to really suffer while trying to be system, and that is the
Yeah,
sort of thing. I mean, we talked about myths earlier, right? The fact that sustainability is difficult, sustainability is expensive. By not having the enabling infrastructure and the back end in place to support or help people make sustainable choices, and organizations as well, not just individuals, as organizations as well, it's very very difficult to move the dial forward. And I mean, you have to look at it also from a perspective of, as I said, no one wants to, if they can avoid doing damage, they will. But there has to be an alternative. There has to be a viable
alternative.
alternative.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If the alternative doesn't exist, then what do you do? Recently, and I'm not going to name names and policy, the national agencies that have made these policy decisions, but I think it was a couple of months ago, somebody who's working in a corporate said, there are these intermediary bulk containers, IBCs, that chemicals usually are bought in, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now, if you look at recycling and reusing and reducing, reusing and recycling, the basic three R's, these companies actually sell it to be reused. Now, ideally, the control should be, it should be washed, it should be cleaned before it gets sold out, because people use it to store water and other stuff. But you reuse it, right? In its proper state, it's reused, and this usually comes in with a metal frame and then the plastic container inside, and these are 1 cubic meter, 1,000 liter tank, right? So as far as I know, from for the many years that I've been working, this has been sold into the market for people to reuse. Then somebody from a government agency had given instructions to some of the people at these in some of these facilities, that because there is a risk that people aren't cleaning it, for them to cut the bottom of the hole essentially in the plastic container, essentially making it, you can't reuse it.
Use it. Exactly.
So we make policy decisions that actually, instead of moving us forward, we are moving backwards, because now what could have
Yeah.
been reused has to be separated and recycled. So you have
The
to then
cost.
remove the metal
Yeah,
frame separately. Yeah, right. So I mean, that's I think the individuals and organizations will try to do the right thing, but
yeah.
sometimes the policymakers, the policies that and the decisions that are being made are very very short sighted.
Understand. I think that's a different kind of topic or monster we have to handle in a separate way, in a different discussion. I think.
Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Can understand. Yeah, I can understand your frustration as someone who's advocating, what in sustainability and all these things what you talk about, and you make sense, Artha. I mean, if you know what you're doing is wrong, why are you still continuing to doing it? I mean, that's the thinking behind it. I think something that you need to think and ponder. So let's just move away for a bit. I mean, we'll come back to now, right? We are in a age of getting digitally, mandated by a lot of digital stuff, AI, and a lot of everything. How does being digital support sustainability, and is there something called anything some called digital sustainability? I just want to know from you.
I think
And
I think
is there a, how can that impact, what are your thoughts about it? Because why I'm asking you that question is because digitization is impacting everywhere, right? And it surely must be impacting sustainability as well.
Yep,
What
yep.
are your
I mean,
thoughts about
I
it?
mean,
Yeah.
in this day and age, my gosh, I think it is most definitely yes. You can be digitally sustainable, but and I would put it like, digital sustainability. Essentially, I would put it as, we need to recognize essentially, that our online behavior and the infrastructure that supports it have real world environmental impacts, because it's like, we don't see the impact of it. I mean, you go into chat gpt, you type something in and you get an answer, but if you remember that sometime back they were saying the servers were melting because people are doing the graphics
Correct.
suffering, right? What we need to do is understand is that all of this stuff, our online behavior, all this the digital stuff that you're using, comes from a data center. There is a data center somewhere, and those consume energy, and water for cooling, right? There's, device manufacturing creates emissions as well. E-waste is a growing problem. I would say being digitally sustainable means essentially reducing the unnecessary storage, streamlining communications, choosing more energy efficient technologies, or very simply, right, asking yourself at an individual level, do I really need that new iPhone? I have 14. Do I need the 15 next year?
Yeah, yeah, correct. I was going to come to that level because you know we are talking about the telcos. I know they want to innovate, and I might have a different kind of ears and eyes looking at me for asking this and telling this.
Yeah.
But this actual thing what I'm say, because you say you're going 4G and 5G, right? But you put in those infrastructure and how you're hurting the environment is a different kind of a thing that you need to check out, right? I mean, even those waves related to 5G and all, those are really very strong waves to not just the environment, even the animals, right? Birds and all, they can't sustain that kind of that 5G waves that are coming through, right? So we are doing that improvements, the digitization part, but are we doing it sustainably? That's the main concern there.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Again, I'm not going to touch the 5G bird thing because I'm not well
Yeah,
versed in that area. Not going to
yeah,
touch
yeah, I
touch a
understand.
topic that that I don't really know
Yeah,
enough about.
true. I just gave an example
Yeah,
because
so
yeah, there are
I'm
many
pretty sure you're more knowledgeable on that than.
there are experts who talk about it, but with that those are things that we conveniently try to ignore, right? And that's
Yes.
the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's as I said, I think being digitally sustainable also ties into digital well-being as well, and also using technology in ways that actually support rather than actually deplete our capacity to live sustainably. I think that's important. That's an area to keep in mind. It should be again an enabler, but overconsumption, generating waste, and all that. I mean, if you look at the Earth overshoot days and all these things, we are living significantly and beyond the means of our planet. The only one we have that we all talk about to support us. Today, I was looking at some an article popped up on my LinkedIn feed saying that they've done research and found out that man-made materials actually now outweigh the biomass, the biological material on the planet. So that means we've actually manufactured more than
Yeah,
the Earth has produced, which is quite significant.
yeah,
And all of this kind of adds up. And this goes into another like slightly interesting topic that I've come across, which is called degrowth. They talk about whether we should actually start degrowing instead of actually growing all the time. So you essentially reduce your economic needs. So you don't try to just make profits, point money, but you see how you can improve the quality of life, improve social well-being, and so on and so forth. Because we are pushing the planetary boundaries. I mean, we've seen a lot of red everywhere. I mean, there's red everywhere. Literally, you look at any sort of graph or table or whatever, looking at our planetary boundaries, and they're all red. Right? It's all bad. And the more we grow, the more, I mean, fast fashion, all of this stuff adds up into more waste, more resource consumption, and it's putting a lot of constraints and a lot of pressure on our planet to sustain us. So now sustainability, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, is not, the original definition was to make sure you provide for the needs of today without compromising the ability of the future to provide for themselves, kind of at a high level. But what we need to keep in mind is that now it's becoming more of a survival game for all of us. I mean, we talked
and we are
about.
talking about the carbon emissions and that all those things we are talking about, and we have policies and things that we are trying to achieve. And if we don't do that small things day to day, it could be a huge problem, right? Even digital wise as well. And I see companies doing things, I mean, even telcos, although I talked about that 5G issues, they do the good things as well, right? Very good things as well. Some, like issuing eSIMs is one thing, right?
Yeah.
And then of course e-waste, it's still, I mean, it's still a thing that they are trying to improve on. And even let's say some of us, right, even from individual level, if we don't use a monitor or something like that, even a broken mouse, we just throw it in the dump and we send it with the normal garbage people, right? We don't give it to the people who can recycle them and reuse it, right? Because those are
And I
devices.
mean, do we even facilitate do I mean how many e-waste recycling facility? I mean, I don't think there's anything in Sri Lanka. I think everything gets exported, as far as I remember.
Yeah,
All the e-waste gets exported. But I mean, countries like Sweden, for example, are building or promoting repairs. Right? You repair as much as possible, reuse whatever. IKEA, for example, if you want to buy something, you can buy. If you even if you break or damage one of their furniture, you can buy order spare parts essentially and fix it yourself. And this is where that policy making, the importance or the criticality of policymakers comes into play, because you have to realize that Sri Lanka is we are an island, and we are an island which is also climate impacted. We are running at a risk, from temperatures to sea level rises to the impact on agriculture to all of that stuff. So we
inclement weather, you don't know when it's cold raining.
right, yeah,
Right.
exactly. So we are seeing the impacts of all of this now,
Yeah, yeah.
but we need to be able to facilitate and support an actual and move out from recycling to, I think we talked about circularity a little bit as well. So there is a we need to stop thinking that recycling we can recycle ourselves out of this, because you can't.
Yeah.
But I mean, how much? I think if you look at the percentage of global recycling, I think it's less than 10% or something like that. And what I realized was, even if you recycle all the material that is supposed to be recycled, it's still 25% globally. Which is, where is the rest of the stuff going? Right? It can go into landfills, or it can go into waste to energy, or it can go wherever, but it's still in the system, right? So designing for circularity, I mean, the Cleaner Production Center in Sri Lanka does a lot of great stuff, and on education and things like that. So with driving and pushing the designing things, materials and stuff for circularity, so that one man's trash is another man's treasure kind of situation, where you can, and building those networks, for example, to say, look, this is a waste product from our operation or whatever, and that feeds into somebody else's raw materials, can happen. And there has to be those connecting those dots, making those right policies. All of those things have to be done at a national level. It has to be done
National
by
level.
government, have to be done by policymakers. And again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are enough countries that are doing this and doing it well, or at least on the right track, which we can learn from.
A lot
That's
of
it. And you
European
can create
countries
you
we
can
can
create
learn,
new
right?
industries, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah.
can create new industries. Like, for example, if you look at chemical recycling of plastics, there's not a lot of them out in the world, but you can do chemical recycling of plastics, convert that into the raw material. And what's happening now is companies like Mondelez, Cadbury, they are using more and more recycled packing material in their packaging, post-consumer recycling. That can be a new industry for the country, for example.
And we,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the constraint that exists is actually capacity. The companies are already doing it, but they don't have enough input of recycled material. I mean, eco spindles, I mean, they've been growing at such a rate, because
yeah,
everybody wants, t-shirts made from recycled bottles that have been collected during a beach cleanup. I mean, it gives you that sense, feel good thing while
yeah.
being good business.
And they also feel I've been contributing to the health of and the future of my planet, right? That thing goes. I mean, we know that again, and just the thinking comes because we do it. It's the mindset again, right? If you feel like you're doing something for the betterment of the world, and we talk about the future a lot. If you are not doing, if you can do these small things and do some work on it, and take some hard decisions early,
Yeah.
results will come in the long run.
No, agreed, and I think I touched a little bit upon climate risk and all this stuff just a couple of minutes ago. But when regulations are kind of important as well, I mean, now we're seeing a lot, maybe an excessive amount of regulations coming in from different markets, especially for listed companies, on reporting their sustainability activities from within through an ESG lens, and looking at climate risk assessments and things like that. Now, I did my first climate risk assessment using some of our past sites in Sri Lanka, and we identified that increasing external temperatures will have an impact, a business impact and a business risk to manufacturing facilities in the country. Because if your ambient temperature inside is 30 something and outside also is 30 something, it goes up to by 2 3 degrees, your workers in your factories are going to be heating up quite a bit.
Correct, correct.
So you, and we can't put ACs in all of these places. And the impact of heat is what? You get heat stress. People get angry. People get tired faster.
Yeah,
They could make mistakes. People could get hurt. All of this, it's like a
it's like
it's
a cycle,
connected,
right?
right?
Yeah, it's
Everything is
a,
connected. It's
yeah,
one. It's like a domino falling thing. You knock one down, and it just keeps knocking down everything else. And that is what we need to understand it and know as well. Because yeah, that's everything is connected. We are even though we are an island, we are still very much part of the natural ecosystem of the world. And I mean, what we are seeing now when it comes to exporting, right, with all the tariffs and all these geopolitical issues that are happening, everything is connected. So we need to look at. We can't look at it from with an island mentality. Is kind of where it is.
it's great stuff. Where something that really needs to be thought out and thought process and written down. I mean, it's action that is required, isn't it? They say action that is required, and if you don't take that small actions, it could hurt in the long run and could be a big problem. So with all these things happening around, do you see any hope and do you see any future? I mean, no, in a positive way I'm asking, huh? Right? Because
I mean, it's interesting because when we go for
because what we see is all the negative side, right? I
yeah.
want to see the positive side, the small actions we are seeing, right? Do you see what would be the future? And I know our hope for the future is being very sustainable, but have you seen any good actions that are taken by people, and something that you feel that people should carry on doing, right? We always say start it, but you must have seen some things that people are already doing, right? So let's give some positive sides to the vibe
It's
for the
a
conversation and close it. Otherwise,
No,
it's
when
not good.
we
Yeah,
this reminds me when we did the former Vice President Algo's climate reality program.
yeah.
It's 3 days of training. And the first day, you are actually warned not to get depressed because it talks about all the impacts of climate change and the environment. I mean, it's a shock load of just bad news, right? And it's also when we go and have conversations at sustainability forums and things like that, usually it's always good news. We are doing this, we are doing this, everything is fantastic. But then you talk to the practitioners and the professionals and realize, oh god, people are dealing with depression.
Yeah.
Because it's just overwhelming the amount of things that are out there that can stress you out. But right, I am most definitely hopeful because there is momentum in the right direction. Right? We are seeing momentum building in regulations, how investors are setting expectations of organizations. Youth leadership is becoming quite significant, and of course there is cross sector collaboration happening as well. So the shift that we are seeing is moving from why to how. Why is this happening to how can we solve this problem? So the conversation is becoming more mature. I am also seeing the power of innovation from renewable energy technologies to circular business models to data driven risk management coming in as well. And the emergence of integrated approaches where environmental, social, and economic values are not treated separately as a tagged on thing to the business strategy, but it's part of the entire organization strategy and it's part of a whole, and that's hugely encouraging as well. And we talked about individuals, right? The willingness of people to engage, ask questions, challenge norms, take action, even when things are difficult. Like people, that really fuels change. And I think like when things happened in the US where the highest office in the country decided that, I don't believe in climate change, I don't believe in sustainability. The states stepped up and were doing the right thing, right? The US pulled out of the Paris Agreement, but there are still states that are supporting it. There are
I see.
organizations that are supporting it, right? So I mean, you can't. Even though I did say at the beginning that the government has a huge role to play, just because if the government isn't doing anything, you can't just sit back and watch because
You need
people
to
are doing
influence,
people are
right? You
doing
have to
people
do
are
your thing, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
that you're saying.
So that I see that as quite encouraging that we are moving in the right direction. I mean, look at the ozone, the hole in the ozone layer, right? I mean, it was so horrible to begin with, and now it's because all the actions that have taken at country level we've started that healing process has started.
Great.
That is, yeah, that if anybody wants an indication of, can we recover, yes, that was the ozone layer is an indication that things that the world, the planet will heal itself. We just need to give the right support and not, overstress it.
I mean, it's very happy to hear that somewhat, some things are people are doing and thinking about this and doing that small. I think that small action will help you take it a long way and, help the whole planet to heal itself, as you said, right? And it's great to see positive things happening. And I hope people will continue to do that. And even the governments and all the policymakers will support.
Yes. No, most
Okay.
definitely. I mean, without that support coming in, we can do that. And
You need the funding also. You can't do it without the
yeah,
funding. You
that
need,
I mean,
yeah,
there is a whole other conversation that we talk about. We talk about the colonization of sustainability, right?
yeah,
That's a whole other topic, which is also interesting. But it looks at the global north and the global south and how these things play together. But I mean, as individuals, right? What we can do is, when you buy something, you just need to ask yourself, do I really need this? Do I need that? As I said, do you really need a new phone every year? Even though these people start doing, do you need million pairs of shoes and a million, shirts and shorts and dresses or whatever it is? Do you really need that? So we have to be more mindful of our consumerism, obviously, because even though it's being promoted, and if we do want to buy, just we need to ask ourselves the right questions. Where does this come from? Who's making it? Are the people being paid for their wages? Just ask those questions so that at least you know that if you're buying something and you need it, it is being sourced ethically. It's having as much of a minimum impact on the environment, and move away from this buy and throw mentality. I think that's the important one.
I mean, I am really proud that you're one of our own from our country, from my school. I mean, that your ideas and thoughts. I mean, you are like a local David Attenborough.
No, no, no.
No, I'm just saying because the thoughts you're giving, the feedback you're giving, right? I mean, these are things that people don't talk about, right? But what you just in this whole conversation, what we had, you have given some great ideas and thoughts. I mean, I hope the people who are watching this, I know you, these are things that you talk about and hear every day. Again, the small action you take takes you a long way, and the results will impact a lot of people, right? And we talk about our kids, their kids, and a lot of generations to come, right? In the future, it's not at the end of the world when we go away, because there are another lot of people who wants to come into this world. They will need to have a place to live in, right? With clean air, clean water, and lot of things. It's a whole
There, there is a,
huge
there is
topic here.
that interesting question, right? We are
Yeah,
spending money on space and all of this stuff, and I know a lot of people are very critical of Elon Musk on a lot of topics, but one of the things that has been touched there is that if we are spending so much money trying to go to Mars, can we use that money to fix the planet that we actually living in?
very true, very true. That's something you need to really think about. In the long run, that's correct. Why do we have think about another planet we have when we have uh, a place where we can call home, right? And we can live without being, invaded by other aliens or anyone, because we right. Very simple.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for joining the call today, and I'm really grateful. I mean, I'm really happy that we had that long, calls over time and set up this conversation. And I'm really honored to have you on chat with Chamindra and being a great guest and sharing your ideas. It's really valuable. I'm going to show this to my kids also, you know, and just to listen to and just learn about certain things that you have expressed, because they will also learn something, right? And what that small things that you need to do each day will take it for a long run.
No, and there's plenty of information out there, right? There's plenty of information if anybody wants to learn. There's enough information out there. Like I started doing this, it was self-learning, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no information. You just read, and then you just it's you find bits of information. You keep digging, and it just becomes there's so much information out there. If anybody cares to learn, and like I said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel as well. Yeah, and I mean, it was a blast. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that perhaps I gave some new perspectives, and hope your listeners and viewers essentially also got some value of the conversation. And yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Great, no worries. And surely they must be learning something and they will really enjoy this conversation. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the very best with all your endeavors and initiatives with your new company, with all the things you are doing. I hope you can persuade more people to join your work, right?
Yeah,
Persuade them and, get a, uh, you know, community growing to help the planet. And I wish you everything, all the very best with everything, actually. All the very best with everything that you do. And keep on doing what you're doing. Great.
thanks. Thank you. And yes, that's over for you as well.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. Bye. Bye.